Okay, good day everyone. I am Michelle R. Hudilia, and my task is to report about the policy analysis, summary, and examples. Okay, so let's start with the questions. What is analysis? So when we say analysis, it is a systematic examination and evaluation of data or information by breaking it into its component parts to uncover their interrelationships. Okay, then what is policy analysis? Policy analysis is determining which of the various policies will be the most achieve a given set of goals in light of the relations between the policies and the goals. So according to Carl B. Patton, policy analysis is the process through which we identify and evaluate alternative policies or programs that are intended to lessen or decrease or resolve social, economic, or physical problem. So it is also the process, or it concerned primarily with policy alternatives that are expected to produce novel solution, and it requires careful systematic and empirical study. So the complexities of policy analysis have contributed to the development and growth of policy science, which applies variety of theories and tools from hard sciences. So examples of hard sciences are the physics or biology and chemistry. Social sciences includes or examples are the social studies, anthropology, psychology, and sociology. And humanities. So humanities examples are the history and philosophy. It is an effort to better understand aspects of human society and its problem and the solution to those problems. Okay, so now let's proceed with the public policy. So what is public policy? So according to John Dewey in 1972, public policy is focused on the public and its problem. And according to Arnold Heidenheimer in 1990, public policy is the study of how, why, and to what effect governments pursue particular courses of action and inaction. So public policy is also a dynamic process operating under changing social, political, and economic conditions. Next, the outcome of public policy. So the outcome of public policy analysis are highly varied. So in one sense, policy analysis provides elected and non-elected government decision makers the opportunity to develop a greater understanding of a policy problem and possible solution. Okay, so here are the dimensions of analyzing the public policies. So based on the table show that this dimension has two parts, the effects and implementation. So the unintended effects and equity was under in the effects, and the cost, feasibility, and acceptability was under in implementation. Okay, so now we also have a 5E approaches. So the first one is effectiveness. The next is efficiency, ethical consideration, evaluation of alternatives, and lastly is establishment of recommendation for positive change. Okay, so we also have the methodology of policy analysis. The methodology of policy analysis draws from and integrated elements of principles of discipline. In discipline of political science, sociology, psychology, economics, and philosophy. Okay, so policy analysis uses both qualitative methods and quantitative methods. So qualitative methods research includes case studies, interviews with community members. Examples: some qualitative studies involve archival analysis, studying policy history, and determining what has been done in the past to solve certain policy problem. Okay, then the quantitative research. It is a survey research, statistical analysis, also called data analysis, and a model building. So examples are personal interviews, asking individuals to describe in words a variety of issues surrounding the policy process, from policy agendas to formulation, implementation, and evaluation. Okay, so let's proceed with the policy analysis principles. So the first principles is to learn to focus quickly on the central decision criterion of the problem. Think about the types of policy action that can be taken. Learn to deal with uncertainty. Make the analysis simple and transparent. Check the facts. Give the client analysis, not decision. Push the boundaries of analysis beyond the policy envelope. And lastly, be aware that there is no such thing as an absolutely correct, rational, and complete analysis. Okay, so we also have the policy analysis process. So the first one is verify, define, and detail the problem. And the next one, establish evaluation criteria, down to the identify alternative policies, proceed to the evaluate alternative policies, and go up to the display and distinguish among alternative policies. And lastly, monitor the implemented policy. Okay, so let's start with the verify, define, and detail the problem. Okay, so this is the most relevant and important of them all, because many times the objectives are not clear or even contradictory or clashes from each other. Okay, so a successful policy analysis will have allocated and identified clearly the problem to be resolved in the following steps. Okay, establish evaluation criteria. So in order to compare, measure, and select among alternatives, relevant evaluation criteria must be established. So this step must be considered with its cost, net benefits, effectiveness, efficiency, equity, administrative ease, legality and political acceptability, and the economic benefits must be considered in evaluating the policy on how the policy will harm or benefits a particular group. Okay, so next is identify alternative policies. So in order to reach in this step, the other two must have successfully reached and completed. So in this step, the policy analysis involves an incrementalist approach, reaching one step in order to go on to the next. Okay, so it is important to avoid settling prematurely in a certain number of options in this step. Many options must be considered before settling into a reduced number of alternatives. Okay, so the next one is evaluate alternative policies. So in this step, packaging of alternatives into strategies is the next step in accomplishing a thorough, systematic, or careful policy analysis. So these dimensions are analyzed through quantitative and qualitative analysis. So that is the benefit and cost per alternative. And Next is the display and distinguish among alternative policies. The result of the evaluation of possible alternative lists the degree to which criteria are met in each of them. So in making the comparison and distinction of each alternative, it is necessary to play out the economic, political, legal, and administrative ramification or consequences of each options. So and the last process is monitoring the implemented policy. So in monitoring the implemented policy, it should assure its continuity. So determine whether they are having impact even after a policy has been implemented. There may be some doubt whether the problem was resolved appropriately and even whether the selected policy is being implemented properly. So that are the process of the policy analysis. So now let's proceed to the types of analysis. So we have three types of analysis: the scientific, political, and professional analysis. Okay, so let's start with the scientific analysis. Scientific analysis is search for truth and build theory about policy actions and effects. It is also theoretical for most decision makers. Political analysis. Political analysis analyze alternative to solve problems, or a goal is for practical value. So research can be narrowed due to time or resource constraints. Professional analysis. It's advocate and support preferred policies, and it's often ideological or partisan. So partisan means a strong supporter of a party, cause, or person that may be locked in analytic depth. Okay, so now let's formulate effective policies. So policy analysis plays an important role in helping to define and outline the goals of a proposed policy, and in identifying similarities and differences in expected outcomes and estimated costs with competing alternative policies. So the purpose of these policies is to assist policymakers in choosing a course of action from among complex alternatives under uncertain conditions. So that's the end of my report. Thank you and have a good day.